You know, picks are useful, but today we're not using them, so goodbye, little fella. Welcome to week 5 of the bass lessons with me, Stephen Robertson, here with the West End Cultural Center in the Tune In program. I hope you all are doing well. Last time we were here, we went along on how to stretch your fingers and how to get used to playing all the way to the 12th fret. Now, today we're going to build up on that. So, I always go by frets. Now, yes, that is true, but these guys here, everything on this neck, all these spaces, have a specific name. And those are note names. Everything from A to F. Or G, sorry, G. So, with that, let's get going. So we're going to start here on the E string. We have our open E. Now, there's a bit of a commonality between all the strings you will learn when we get there. So, if you pay attention, I'll be asking you guys what it is, and of course I'll show you, but just make sure you pay attention to it all and we'll get there. So of course, open E is our first note on this string. Our second note is our F. Now in the world of music, there is no flat or sharp note between E and F. We'll get into that right here actually, so don't get too confused. Here's an example. Right here we have an F sharp and G flat. Now the reason I say and is because the space is both share the same note. Because right up above it is our G. So to give more feedback and some more information, when you have a flat and sharp note, it's usually the note in between. So when it comes to E and F, there is no note or space in between. But when we have F and G, we have this fret right here, our second fret, which is home to the F sharp and G flat. We're going to see this commonality up again soon on this string, so keep paying attention and please make sure you're writing this down. It is very important you know this, and if you don't have a pen and paper and you're watching this, watch this video first, then go back. It's all good. Next up is our G sharp and A flat. This is our 4th fret. Then, next up, we have our A. Pay attention. This is important. Up above, we have our A sharp and B flat. Next, we have our B. And now here it goes back to the E and F thing I was just talking about. We have our C. Now there is no B sharp or C flat. In the world of music and jazz and all the other fancy stuff you can think of, yeah, people will refer to a C flat or a B sharp, but in commonality on the neck of the guitar, they don't exist. It's just simply B and C. Next up, we have our C sharp and D flat on the 9th fret there. Next up, we have our D. Above that, we have our D sharp and E flat. And then, of course, the 12th fret is going to always mirror the open string. And so we have here our octave up of the E. So we're going to run into this commonality, and you're going to see that the strings do have a specific pattern as well when it comes to them as well. So keep paying attention and make sure you're noting this all down. We're going to come back to this at the end of this lesson to refresh you guys. Now to the A string. We then now have our A sharp and B flat. We then have our B. We then have our C. We then have our C sharp and D flat. We then have our D. We then have our D sharp and E flat. We now have our E. We now have our F. We now have our F sharp and G flat. Now to our G. Now G sharp and A flat. and right back home at the octave of A on the 12th fret, A again. And just so you guys can hear the reason why I say octave, here's open A. Now here is 12th fret A. An octave is when it's another step up. So we're going to keep going, and you're going to see this as a repeated pattern for every time at the 12th fret here. So let's keep on going. And of course, if you're confused, don't worry. You can always go back and rewatch this lesson. Thank goodness for that. Now, to the D string right here. We have our open D. Next up, we have our D sharp and E flat. Now we're moving to our E. Now this is another commonality I'm going to take a pause at. So as you see here, we have our E on the 3rd string. We also have our E here. This is another example of octaves. So you know, if you ever have an open E on your top string, you know that the 2nd fret of your D string is going to be another E. And this kind of follows along in this type of pattern for both the 4th string, 3rd string, and then this was also carry on for when we touch on the G string. You also see what I'm talking about there. Now, we have our F. Once again, octave to where we had just up here. So that's a little cheat sheet for you. Always remember that. Now, let's head to the 4th fret, which will be our F sharp and G flat. Against, I'm not going to play it for you just for the sake of time and simplicity, but of course, you have another F sharp and G flat right there. You have your G. You then have your G sharp, A flat. Right there. Then you have your D. Or A, sorry, A. Once again, also, I should point this out. Your 7th fret, from this point on, will also be a octave as well. So you had your E here. Now you have your A as well here. Another little cheat sheet for you to help you remember the note names on your neck. Next up, we have our A sharp and B flat. Next up, we have our B. Next up, we have ourselves C. Then we have ourselves here C sharp and D flat. And then above that, we have ourselves D again as the octave at the 12th fret. Pardon me there. Now let's head to the G string. Now we're going to touch up on that octave commonality that we had between the 4th fret and the 3rd string here. So keep on for that, or the 2nd string, sorry. G string now. Open G. Now you have your G sharp, A flat. Then you have your A. Once again, octave of the 3rd string, A, or open A. For now on, you can make yourself a little cheat sheet knowing this. And this will help you in guessing the rest of the names up here too, if you've been paying attention. Next, with that, we have ourselves A sharp, B flat. We now have ourselves B. We now have ourselves C. We now have C sharp and D flat. We now have ourselves D. Once again, open. We then have ourselves D sharp, E flat. Next up, we then have ourselves another E, which again, then all those notes and positions right there are all E. Right there. So your 9th fret on your G, the 7th fret on your A, and open E string, all E. Make sure you note that down. This will always help you remember. Next up, we have ourselves F. Then we have F sharp, G flat. And then we have ourselves here, G on the 12th fret. Now, that is everything up to the 12th fret. I'm going to go a bit faster now, just for a little refresh for you guys. And then afterwards, that's basically about it. So let's jump right into the little refresher here before we end off. So right back down here at the low E. Follow along and make sure you write this down if you have not already. Open E. F. F sharp, G flat. G. G sharp, A flat. A. A sharp, B flat. B. C. C sharp, D flat. D. D sharp, E flat. E. All the way to the A string, top of the here with open A. A sharp, B flat. B. C. C sharp, D flat. D. D sharp, E flat. E. F. F sharp, G flat. G. G sharp, A flat. A. Now we're going to go to the open D with open D. D sharp, E flat. E. F. F sharp, G flat. G. G sharp, A flat. A. A sharp, B flat. B. C. C sharp, D flat. D. Now let's head all the way down to the G string. Once again, open G. G sharp, A flat. A. A sharp, B flat. B. C. C sharp, D flat. D. D sharp, E flat. E. F. F sharp, G flat. And finally, once again, G. Once again, if you have not written all these notes down, please make sure you do. This is crucial. Next lesson, we will be having a little bit of a game for you to guess the note of which fret I am playing. And if you get it right, you've done a good job. If not, go back and keep learning. Memorizing your fretboard and note names is very important. So this will be it for it today. Of course, if you have any questions or anything that's confusing you, make sure you go back to the beginning and all your questions will hopefully be answered by rewatching and taking more notes. Next lesson, we're going to be learning Seven Nation Army, which naming these notes is going to be crucial, and also practicing and teaching you which notes are where on the fretboard to keep it into your brain there. With that, we're going to end it off. I hope to see you all guys next time in next lesson, in lesson 6. This is Stephen Robertson here with the West End Cultural Center in the Tune-In program. Signing off for today. Take care now, and see y'all later.